All right, let's jump right into today's explainer and unpack a moral and political ideal that literally forms the bedrock of our modern society. We're talking about equality. But, beyond just being a buzzword we hear all the time, what does true equality actually demand of us in practice? Well, today we're going to break down the complexities behind this concept and really understand exactly why it matters so much. Here's our roadmap for today. We're going to start with what is equality, move into identical versus fair treatment, explore the three dimensions of equality, examine three political ideologies, and finally wrap the whole thing up with how to promote equality. So, Section 1, what is equality? The core concept. Before we can even talk about fixing inequality, we really have to define our goal. At its very core, equality is the political ideal that all human beings have an equal worth, regardless of their color, gender, race, or nationality. And the whole thing is grounded in this profound idea of a shared common humanity. Now, this shared humanity is actually the exact same notion that lies right behind universal human rights. Just think about how revolutionary this was historically, the core belief that simply by being human, you absolutely deserve equal consideration and respect. And that's completely separate from the specific circumstances, wealth, or class you were born into. Moving on to Section 2, identical versus fair treatment, the paradox of equality. This actually brings us to a really fascinating paradox about how we treat people in the real world. Think about this for a second. Does the pursuit of equality involve treating everyone the exact same way in every single condition? If we want a truly equal society, does treating people with equal respect actually mean we literally have to treat them identically no matter what? Well, imagine this classic scenario. An examiner looks at a monkey, an elephant, a penguin, and a fish in a bowl and says, to ensure a fair selection, you all get the exact same test. You must all climb that tree, right? It's completely absurd. When people have vastly different innate capabilities and physical circumstances, treating them identically isn't creating equality at all. It's actually enforcing inequality. So equal respect, it turns out, does not always mean identical treatment. That takes us to Section 3, three dimensions of equality: political, social, and economic. So, if identical treatment isn't the magic answer, how on earth do we structure a fair society? Well, equality is actually multifaceted. First up, we have political equality. Think of this as your legal foundation. It's about granting equal citizenship, the right to vote, and a voice in government. But, political equality is really just the bare minimum. It has to be supplemented by social equality. This is about providing a level playing field and a fair chance to compete for opportunities. Think along the lines of anti-discrimination laws that remove societal barriers holding certain groups back. And finally, there's economic equality, which focuses on minimizing those extreme gaps in wealth and resources. Whether we're talking about progressive taxation or minimum wage protections, you absolutely need economic fairness to guarantee minimum conditions of life for everyone. A truly just society actually requires us to address all three of these dimensions simultaneously. All right, Section 4, three political ideologies. Differing views on inequality. What's really fascinating here is how different political thinkers diagnose the root causes of inequality. Let's look at a classic ideological face-off, Marxism versus liberalism. It's so interesting to see how these two frameworks view the world so differently. Marxism argues that the root cause of entrenched inequality is the private ownership of economic resources, things like oil, land, and property. The argument here is that this ownership gives a specific class tremendous power and wealth, which leads Marxists to focus on abolishing private property altogether. Now, on the flip side, liberalism argues that the real problem isn't necessarily inequality in and of itself, but rather unjust, entrenched inequalities that prevent individuals from developing their capabilities. So, while Marxism focuses on dismantling private ownership, liberalism focuses heavily on removing the hurdles that block individual potential and ensuring fair, open competition. The third major ideology we're examining today is feminism, which is a political doctrine of equal rights for women and men. It asserts a very specific viewpoint that the inequalities we see between men and women are entirely socially constructed. Basically, they're created by society, not by nature. Furthermore, it vigorously seeks to eliminate that traditional distinction between the public sphere of politics and professional work and the private sphere of the home, arguing that all forms of gender inequality can and absolutely must be eliminated. Visually, this ideology is anchored by some incredibly powerful symbols representing the ongoing fight to, shatter the glass ceiling and dismantle those socially created gender barriers. These emblems represent the historical and ongoing drive for equal rights, equal consideration, and a fundamentally leveled playing field regardless of gender. And that brings us to Section 5, how to promote equality, taking action. So, we've got the theories and the definitions down, but how does all of this actually apply to the real world? Remember that classic scenario of the animals taking the exact same tree climbing test? Well, sometimes practical examples show us that we actually have to rely on differential treatment to genuinely guarantee equal access and rights. Think about things like building special ramps in public spaces for disabled individuals, or providing special night protection during journeys for women working late shifts in call centers. Treating people differently to account for their specific needs really shouldn't be seen as an infringement on equality. Rather, it's the exact mechanism we use to ensure everyone is operating on that level playing field we discussed earlier. It's what bridges the gap between theoretical rights and actual lived equality. Wow, we have covered an immense amount of ground today, from the basic definition of shared humanity all the way to the complex ways we try to balance political, social, and economic realities. I want to leave you with this really provocative thought to ponder long after this explainer ends. Is inequality natural, or is equality natural, and the inequalities we notice around us are actually created by society? Think about the dimensions and the ideologies we've explored today. It's a massive, massive question about human nature and the structures we built. Keep turning that over in your mind, keep questioning, and I will see you in the next explainer.